What we're going to make tonight is shrimp Etoufee. This is a Cajun dish. I mean, smothered shrimp. So first off, I'm going to make a stock for the sauce, the gravy of the Etoufee. And what I've got about 2 liters of water there, so 2 quarts if you're in the States. And I'm going to add 1 clove of garlic here that I've quartered. Just leave the skin on it, don't make no difference. And 1 medium onion that I've quartered. And 1 stalk of celery. Now with that, I'm going to put in all of these shrimp heads. These are heads from the last time I cooked coconut shrimp. I had the heads left. I saved them for stock. So I'm going to put those into water. We'll boil it up. And you're going to let this actually cook for about 2-3 hours. You get you a good flavored stock. Just a low simmer and let it go. And as soon as I get that done, we'll get back to the rest of the recipe. Okay, I got that stock starting there now. I'm going to let it cook. If you don't have time to make stock like this, you can always use a good fish stock or shrimp stock. You can buy these at the grocery store usually. I'm not sure about the shrimp stock. I order that special in with our Oriental Foods. But you can use a stock like that. You're going to need about 3 cups of stock to make this recipe. Whatever else you have left over from this stock, if you make it yourself, you can just freeze it and use it next time. Okay, I made up my seasoning mix for this. Now that seasoning mix there is 2 teaspoons of red pepper, preferably cayenne, and a teaspoon of ground white pepper, and a teaspoon of ground black pepper, along with a half a teaspoon of thyme and a teaspoon of basil. And I've added a teaspoon of salt to this. Okay, now you might want more salt, but use it like this and then check your recipe after you're done, because your broth's going to add salt to it. Okay, so that's your seasoning mix. Now we're going to make a standard roux. You're going to need about 7 tablespoons of a good vegetable oil. I use canola or rapeseed oil, as it's called. It has a high burning point. If you want to do a traditional roux, well, then prepare for the heartache, because you're going to have to use lard on it. That's to make a traditional roux. You use about 7 tablespoons of your vegetable oil or your lard, whichever you're going to do. You're going to add 3/4 of a cup of flour to it. Now, it's real important. If you've seen my other videos, I tell you this before, and I'll tell you it again. That roux is going to be very, very hot. You want to continue to stir it. It's going to change colors. It's going to get kind of a light brown. It's going to look like peanut butter. And you're going to get it darker and darker. And you want to end up with kind of a mahogany color, like a reddish brown. And once you've got that, you want to take it off the heat. Now, I always use like cast iron skillet to do this in. But you can use any heavy saucepan or frying pan to make your roux. But again, use a long handle whisk or a long handle spoon when you're mixing this stuff. Make sure you don't get burned. Okay. Now, once you have your roux made, we're going to add the vegetables to it. Now, that's what's called the Holy Trinity in Cajun cooking. I've got about half an onion in there, and small size green bell pepper, and about 3 stalks of about 3 stalks of celery here. It's all chopped up fine. You can use a food processor if you like, get it a little bit finer. That's going to give you about a half a cup of each. Half a medium onion, a small green bell pepper, and about 3 stalks of garlic. Should give you about a half a cup of vegetables for each one. Okay. We're going to add that to the roux. Once we have the roux the color we want, we're going to add that to the roux, along with a tablespoon of that seasoning mix. Now you're going to end up using all the seasoning mix, just a little bit at a time. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start making the roux now. While I'm starting to make my roux here, I just want to show you all the shrimp. Now, this is a kilo, and these are 61 to 70 count shrimp. Now, that's about 2.2 pounds. Okay, and that's what you're going to need to make this recipe. These things are frozen, actually, so when you go to defrost them, the best way to defrost them is just put them in a bowl of water, cold water, not hot, and they'll start defrosting that way. I run them under cold water to break them up a little bit, and I'll just leave them in the cold water here and let them defrost before I get ready to peel them. And we have to peel them first, and then we're going to cook them. Okay, I got the oil in the pan there, and I've got it heated up. I'm going to start making this roux. The thing about the roux is you have to make sure you're constantly stirring it so it don't burn. If it burns, basically you have to throw it out and start all over again. Again, this is 7 tablespoons of oil or lard, about 3/4 of a cup of flour. You see it's making a paste there. That's your roux. I'm going to let this go ahead and cook. It's going to take 5 to 10 minutes. You don't want to keep this too high. You want to keep your heat down medium or below. And you have to keep stirring it. And I'll be back. Okay, I've been cooking this for about 5 minutes now. You can see it's about colored peanut butter. Okay, we're going to continue cooking it on down until I get a little bit darker color on that. And we'll be back. Okay, as you see now, it's pretty dark brown. A reddish brown there. Now you can keep on cooking it. You know, some gumbos and stuff that you make with Cajun, the darker the roux, the better it tastes. But that's good enough for what we're going to do. Now you just dump your vegetables in. Make sure you take the roux off the heat, before you dump the vegetables in. Okay. I'm going to add about a tablespoon of my Cajun seasoning mix here. And I'm going to stir that in with the vegetables. Okay, and we're back in a minute. Okay, this stock's been cooking for about 3 hours. I'm going to go ahead and strain it out now. And I've also cleaned and peeled all the shrimp. And as soon as we get all this done, we'll finish the meal. Okay, well, you see how dark the roux got now. It's cooled off. Vegetables stopped from cooking. Now I've just turned the heat back on this a little bit. I'm going to heat it back up a little bit here, and then I'm going to start adding stock to it to make the gravy for the Etoufee. And we're going to add the stock about 1 cup at a time until we get the consistency we want. And then we'll have to cook the shrimp. Okay, now I've added about 2 cups of the fish stock, or shrimp stock, to the roux here, and I'm whisking it in. Now you can do this one of 2 ways. You either put your stock into your roux, or you take your roux and put it in the stock. But since I've made more stock than what I actually need, I'm just saving pans, so I don't have to wash up so much. So I'm going to make the gravy here, and it'll end up being thinner once I finish the dish. So again, I've added about 2 cups of stock to my roux. And that's made a nice brown gravy there. It's still kind of thick. So I'm going to put another ½ cup of stock into this. Add it out a little bit more. What we're going to do on the next step, we're going to take them shrimp that we peeled, cleaned up, and we're going to put them with about 3 tablespoons of butter, non-salted butter, in a pan, and we're going to saute them. And when they're good and done, it's turned pink there. Now we're going to put another cup of fish stock in there. We're going to mix our gravy in with it. We're going to adjust the seasoning. Throw some green onions in with it. And then you're going to serve it with rice. Okay, now I've added about 3 tablespoons of butter to about a 4-quart pan here, and I'm going to saute the shrimp in it, and I'll do that in just a second. Okay, I've added the shrimp to the pan, and basically you're going to saute these for about a minute on a low heat. Just want them to cook up here a little bit. As these are starting to cook, you're going to add your green onions in. And that's about a cup of green onions in there. We'll mix that in with the shrimp. Continue cooking it. I say you're going to cook this for about a minute until the shrimp are all turned pink. Okay, it's cooked for about a minute here now, and they're all turning pink. I'm going to add the rest of our seasoning mix into it. Now you might want to finish mixing everything else up besides that seasoning mix, just to make sure it's not too spicy for you. Okay, and we're going to add another cup of this fish stock we got. Okay, let that heat for just a second, and we're going to start adding in the roux. Okay, and I've added the roux gravy we made up before to this. We're whisking it all in now. This is kind of a rich dish. What we're going to do is check the heat here. Okay, now what we're going to do is I'm going to add about another 3 tablespoons of butter to this. That's why I said this is a rich dish. And we just kind of shake it and let the butter incorporate itself. You don't really mix it in. Once this is done, you can serve it up. We'll do that in a minute. Okay, I've incorporated all the rest of the butter into that dish. I'm going to go ahead and serve it up. Basically what we've done, we make a ring of rice here, and you put your Etoufee in the middle of it. And I'll show you how that's done. And there's your Etoufee, all ready to serve. As always, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy it.